how the movie would relate to the play, the original play. Since it was basically two guys putting on a play that one of them wrote about his life, is that going to be an aspect of the film?
No, I mean, the play obviously is a huge, for those who don't know, is the second longest running play in London. It's been running for 21 years. It's a two-hander. It's a brilliantly devised, brilliantly staged version of the book. But we're not really related to the play as much as our source material for us was the original book. And so I mean so certain things have changed, like whereas in the book it is, as you said, a man looking back on his life as a retrospective. We don't have that in the film. It's set in as far as our character's concerned, there's no element of it being a flashback. It's all set in present time. There are, it still feels like a very intimate production for a film because it is a small cast, but obviously in terms of staging it with just two people, that wasn't going to happen.
And right over here, what's your name?
All right, my name is Mr. Radcliffe. How are you? You look really good.
Very much.
All right, so obviously you received a lot of press for your role in How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. How was your preparation for The Woman in Black different from that? Was it a hard transition to make necessarily, or obviously they're two very different productions?
It was kind of odd because I finished filming Potter last year. Just shout out whenever you recognise a word. So I finished filming Potter in July, and then we had there was about 2 months between finishing that and starting Woman in Black filming. So around that time it was kind of weird because I was rehearsing sort of 9 hours a week dance rehearsal and 6 hours a week singing rehearsal, whilst for this kind of very bright, fun, joyous kind of musical, and at the same time I was preparing for this demoralized, devastated, introspective, detached character at the same time. So it was kind of a weird balance finding both at the same time, but it's one of those moments where as an actor you just kind of have to celebrate the situation that you're in, because having two such different, such exciting jobs to juggle at the same time is a blessing and something that any actor is very, very grateful for.
Right over here, what's your name?
Thank you.
My name is Justin. Daniel, how does this role compare to others you've played in previous shows and movies?
I think this film as a whole is definitely the darkest film that I've ever been involved in. I mean, it's Potter has a lot of dark moments, but there was so much comedy and light relief and romance and things for people to, so it wasn't just unmitigated darkness for 2.5 hours, which this film kind of is in some ways. I mean, it's an hour and a half of keeping the audience in a state of tension for the whole time. In terms of the part, there are a few kind of differences in that. Obviously, I'm playing a father in this film, playing a little bit older than myself, not that much. I mean, I think I was 21 when I shot it, and I think we put him at around 25. So it's not a huge leap to make. But so yeah, there were a few, and also this is the first, or this is the least verbal part I've ever had. I mean, there's about 20 minutes in the middle of this film with no dialogue, and it's just me walking around this house. And I have to say, it's also the most compelling, exciting 20 minutes of the film. So there's, and I don't take any credit for that. That's our director. So I suppose those were some of the main challenges with this film, was playing a character. Also, I have very high energy, I'm quite a hyperactive kind of person. So to play a character that has such low energy all the time, whose the kind of light has been taken out of him by the circumstances of his life, And so he has very little energy and is kind of in a state of depression, which I think leads to a kind of sense of fatigue and exhaustion. Just because in talking to a few of my friends who suffer with depression, the theme that comes up again and again is just how exhausting it is. How, you know, it is an effort to get out of bed in the morning. And that's kind of where you find my character at the beginning of the film. So yeah, there was lots of good, different stuff to explore and challenge me, and working with James Watkins, our director, on that stuff was one of the most fun parts of the whole film.
Next question right here.
Hi, this is from Mariah Garcia. A lot of people and actors fall in love when they're making love movies. Did you yourself ever get scared in the making of this?
I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think it's one of those awkward things when people always say, you know, did anything funny happen or did anything scary happen, and you just want to go, well, no, but we had a good time still. You know, I mean, in terms of anything scary, the only thing that came close to something actually scary happening was I was walking around the house we were filming in one day, and I just happened to walk past a room, and as I just in the periphery of my vision, I just glimpsed the woman in black for a second, and then I looked back and it was just Liz White, who plays the woman in black in costume eating sandwich. So it wasn't, you know, those scary moments are generally kind of balanced out. You know, I also, the other question I've been getting asked a lot in relation to this film is, do I believe in ghosts? And I'm really, really starting to believe that I did. But I'm starting to wish that I did, because I don't have any belief in the supernatural, but I'm getting asked about it a lot, so I think I might have to make up some stories.
In the red over here, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Jessica Sherwin. I was just wondering, you've been playing Harry Potter for so long, and did you ever find yourself reverting back to some of the tendencies you had playing him as an actor in this movie?
Well, no, fortunately not. That's a great question. Fortunately, I don't. You know, I was very worried when I came to see the film finally, because I spent a lot of time looking quite frightened as Harry. That's like a phase I find myself in a lot in that part, and so I was worried that playing a character who is so reactive for so much of the film, and who is reacting in fear a lot of the time, that I would end up looking very similar to how I did in Potter. But I was relieved to find, at least in my mind, that I don't think I do. I think I look very different than people have seen me look before. I think just having the glasses off, it makes a huge difference. Yeah, so it's, but so yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think what else. I mean, it's something you're very concerned about, particularly, you know, when you are moving on and you're, you know, I think it's fair to say that most actors, when they're my age and, you know, are still learning their profession, would tend to be on stage more than on film. And so it's, you don't really have a sense of what you do because you don't watch yourself. Whereas on Potter, it's something that I've become very conscious of, is wanting to, you know, change how I look, wanting to, you know, it's a different character. He has a different set of responses, a different set of, you know, visually it should be a different feel. And I think I have, you know, it's maybe not as good as I would like, but I've achieved something towards that goal, certainly.
Right here, what's your name?
Hey, I'm Emma. So my question is, it's not like related to the movie, but like, what's the craziest fan experience that you've ever had?
There've been a few actually. There've been a few. There were some quite good ones. There was actually a very good one recently when this young guy came to the theatre where we were doing our show, and Alan Rickman has just opened in a show down the road, and this guy came up to the stage door saying to everybody, "I'm Alan Rickman's son, and I'm here to meet Daniel." And Alan doesn't have any kids, so I was kind of like, oh, okay, and so he was kind of, and then he spent the next sort of 2 hours trying to find different ways of getting into the theatre, to the point where he eventually just bought a ticket and came in and saw the show. So that was kind of odd. We had, I've had people attempt to jump into the car after I've got in, sometimes through the door, sometimes through the window. So, I mean, the craziest ever was when I was, I think, 12 or 13, and I was doing a press tour for the second Harry Potter film, and I went to Japan, and that was, that was crazy. I arrived there at the airport, and there were 5,000 people waiting in the arrivals lounge. So I remember as a 13-year-old being quite intimidated by that and quite freaked out.
It was your Beatles moment, Daniel.
You've got to take all that stuff in stride. It was a bit of a Beatles moment, and it's pretty cool. Not everybody gets one of them, so that's kind of cool.
Next person, make sure you speak as loud as you can. What's your name?
Hi, my name's Liz Sarakis. I have a bit of a random question, but what do you regret about not getting a typical high school experience?
Well, I mean, I don't regret the fact that I was not subjected to that, film instead. Like, I was, that's not an issue. I really don't feel like I missed out on much. I actually feel like my education, when I was at school, I was very excited and very enthusiastic and very nice, but just terrible at all of it. I couldn't, academically I was, below average, I would say, and in terms of sport and any of that stuff, just way below average. So there was nothing really there that I enjoyed. I enjoyed, getting in school and dossing about, but I didn't really do any work. Then on Potter, I was suddenly in a world where I was being tutored one-to-one, and one of the wonderful things about that, about my environment, was that it was one-to-one tuition, so that there's one of you in the class rather than 20, so all your teacher's time is with you, so that if you find something interesting, you don't have to just do what's on the curriculum. You can, if you find something interesting, you can go off on a tangent and learn about that for a while. And so it was a much more natural, more exciting way of learning, and it kind of, I think, engendered a love of knowledge and curiosity generally. And when I did go back to school, I hated it. So I was very, very glad to be away from all that and to be on Potter, and I lucked out. I got the best job in the world at the age of 11. So it's hard to talk about high school or anything like that, because I don't want to make you jealous, because I didn't really realize you all had to do all that stuff.
And it worked out well for you.
I had to go, had a great time. Yeah, I did.
Question over here. What's your name?
Hi, Mr. Radcliffe. I'm Vanessa. How specifically did you have to prepare differently for a horror film than you have for your other films, such as the fantasy ones?
I don't think that the genre that a film falls into necessarily plays a part in the preparation. It was mainly that, I think, when you're doing ostensibly a horror film, there are certain things you want to make sure of, first and foremost, which is that, when I read the script, my immediate reaction was that this is not just a horror film. This could be a lot more than that. It could have the potential to be moving, and it's character driven, so it's not just an exercise in freaking people out and scaring people. It also got a very honest, emotional heart as well, which is very important in any film if you want to care about the characters. So I suppose one of the only things in terms of preparation was to make sure that James Watkins, the director, and I were on the same page regarding that. I mean, I met him and we had exactly the same kind of vision for the film. And so, but I don't think there was any particular preparation that I did, because this was horror. I didn't warm up my screaming voice or anything like that. And also